YouTube, Ruby, this is YouTube. Ruby's got one problem, and she likes to mark her spot a little too much. So we're gonna go tear her apart, Brian and I. It's had an oil leak since he got it, so it's not like we weren't aware of it. What were you thinking it was?
I think that it's blowing oil out from under the tin, which would lead me to believe that that the gaskets for the oil cooler is only part of the problem.
Go grab a light. So we thought the rear main seal was pissing away, which it may.
That's what we were told when I bought it.
Yeah, you may believe. But if you notice, it seems like that oil seems like it's running down from behind the dog cooler into the abyss down there and then dripping. It could be even leaking from both spots. But either way, we're going to go pull the motor today and try to make this thing a little bit more sealed up than what it is. And when we're in there, we're going to do a couple of other things. Yeah, put a clutch in it and that kind of thing. So I think we turn the camera on and take a little Ruby apart here, which is a 67 Deluxe Beetle. I think they're all just Beetles, right?
It's just a Beetle.
Same deal. 67's the probably one of the most sought after years as far as bugs are concerned, unless it's something with so early it's got a W deck lid, but it's a transition year between the IRS rear ends and and swing axle, and it still retains the old style bumpers, towel bumpers that everybody likes, and wide 5 lug wheels, and a myriad of other changes that I'm not going to get into. But anyway, so we're going to go and pop this thing up on the lift and start investigating what oil's pissing out of it. Yeah, we're going under. As you can see, he lives 4 houses away, essentially.
That's 11. Not horrible, really.
And that's how much it has pissed out of it between here and there. Yeah, you can literally see it running down the side of the block in the front. But I would say it looks mighty wet in the back side of it too. And generally, you know, unless you're driving in reverse, there's no reason for oil to be up here, and it's actively dripping there too.
Thank you, Darren.
No problem. So I think we pull the doghouse off.
Yep.
And the only thing we don't have is another oil cooler itself if it's ruptured of some sort. But I have a feeling it's just going to be more of a. Actually, we might.
I might have an oil cooler.
I might too. Those 1600s, I don't know. In the parts bus, that parts motor. Still has a thermostat in it. That's a good sign. Pushrod tubes look a little cruddy too, but that's for another day. I don't think any of those are our issue. Let's look at the rest of it. That's all solid. Floors look good. A little right there. That's not bad. As far as bugs go, usually everything's been replaced. I don't see any witness marks of patches.
That's fantastic because I paid all the money for this car.
Yeah, I don't see anything there. Nice. Alright, so let's go and let's go pull a motor. Yes it is. As soon as I figure out how to shut you guys off. Alright, this is a tip from Brian. You know, see if you could see the gas line. You crawl underneath the car, you take the gas line out, there's a pliers holding it from pissing all over the place. And then you want to split it, but all the gas runs down your arm, so a rag tucked into the glove. We're going to see how well that works. Looks like it runs down to your armpit.
It's good deodorant though.
It is?
You won't smell
Alright.
like anything but that.
I just need 2 hands, so I will show you the outcome, I guess, afterwards.
There's your problem.
So, the idea is good. Fortunately, I guess, it didn't piss a bunch of gas out, so it really didn't get me that bad. But I think that's a good trick to save your armpit from a nice raw evening, so to speak. That right there is what's required to remove a 67 Beetle motor. That's the hardware. So now we gotta go get it out of its little parking spot. What do you think? You guys are a little sideways there. Let's see what that does for us. Do I have like alfalfa here?
No. When you went to hair and makeup earlier,
It was good.
It's as good as it's gonna get.
Tug those back. Throttle cable's gotta come out of the tin. I think we're good. Is that not the clutch you have?
That is not the clutch I have.
That sucks. Of course, we forgot the engine stand.
It's not far.
We gotta go get that. I need a reach. It's a little tiny switch. Yeah, I'll show you the first time. The dump valve. This is the dump valve. And there's your problem.
Oh. What?
Hey, look at it. It's been washing. It's been washing oil off.
That's what?
Nice. It works good.
That's custom.
The clutch doesn't look too wet.
No, the bell housing is wet though
Yeah.
inside.
So I think you're right. I think,
There's your problem.
yeah, where the washed away stain is. So we're gonna go grab the engine stand. We're gonna go pop it up in that and make it a little bit easier to work on, and bring it back in a minute. I figured before I put it on the engine stand, we'd pop the flywheel off, see what the seal is like. And that seal is like a petrified rock. It is so not doing its job. So definitely that is an issue on top of the other ones. But I'm gonna put the stand on it, the cradle on it now, and put up in the stand. Instead of crawling around the floor working on it, I just want to get that out of the way first. So that needs to go in there. When you have a helper, just gotta replace the box. With the wheel. Need more. Good. Put it down. That's it.
Ta-da!
All right. So that stand has plenty of room around it too. A lot of them, they hug real close to the motor. That one actually, you can change the flywheel stuff out with an end stand. That was last year's, 2 years ago.
2 years now.
Yeah, at Transporter Fest. I grabbed that guy. It's built good. All right. Stop. So now we're gonna start getting all the tins off of it, and we'll take a look at what that oil cooler situation looks like, and I'll bring you back on that point. You're on.
On.
I got a camera dummy. I just pull the tin off of this. We'll see what's hiding deep down inside. Is that easier? The way you do it?
Yeah, much.
There our suspect is this guy. Oh yeah, it's rinsing right out of there. So hopefully the cooler itself is okay. Now it looks like it's coming right out of the crack. But we'll find out. Well, if the rear main seal is that brittle, they're going to be the same way. So we're going to go pop. Actually, we're probably going to wash this thing. Whoosh. Get a pan for underneath it, and it's his motor. He gets to clean it up. So much for that orange shirt.
It's fine.
See, Matt, I got a gym too. So we decided we're only going to dig in so far, just fix the oil leaks on this motor. We're not like pulling heads or anything off of it. So not going to go take the intake off and you know, the tins and everything, because we just don't have anything to replace them. We just want to blow out, get all the crap out of the fins and just give it a good bath before we take the oil cooler off. You probably do like half-assed in this area, then we can take the cooler off, and then probably even be easier to get in there.
Excellent.
Sound like a plan? That's our standoffs. Works good though. Alright, so I'll turn you back on when she's purdy. How's that? Alright, we're going in. You gonna hold that?
Yep.
Yeah, they're
Sounds crispy.
yeah, they're yeah, they're rock. We would consider them your issue. The oil stays clean though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I haven't done an oil change in a year because it just keeps changing.
So I'm gonna go pull those off. You have oil for it? We should pull the strainer and clean the strainer.
I have a strainer for it too.
Look at you. So Brian's off to go get a engine gasket set because we thought we had one. And it was like exhaust parts and some seals and some bulbs and everything. And not quite what we're looking for. Push rod tube seals, but not the not a regular engine gasket set. So he's going back to his house and go grab one. I figure while we're doing that, we'll wait to see what this remains. Did you hear it? I'll do it with brittle. So that is doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, there's your problem. So I'm gonna go prep up, clean that area, and I'll go tap a new one in while I'm waiting for the new oil seals for the oil cooler, and so you can get that buttoned up. I didn't show you putting it in, but basically tap it flush with like a body hammer, then come around with a brass rod on the stand. I just kind of tapped it on the edge all the way in. It should have a recess of that amount right there. And if you have a real bad groove in your flywheel, you could fudge it one way or the other to try to get the seal out of the big groove on the flywheel, wherever that ended up. So if you have a really bad groove on that guy down there, that's not bad. You can fudge it one way or the other. It's kind of where it was before. But that one's going all the way in. Should be just fine. Now I screwed myself because I said that. I'm still waiting for a gasket set, so I'm going to jump onto something else. One of the items is on the back of this heater box right here. That's supposed to have a stud sticking out of it. Something like that. And of course it doesn't. And if you notice, there's two holes drilled next to it. And it looks like they tried putting a self-tapping something right in there. So I'm going to remove that heater box and see if we can do our best to drill that out. It might be totally already screwed already, we don't know, but I'm going to take it apart and see if we can help out that corner right there. So it came up with other goodies. He said, if it ain't in here, we don't need it. Well, that should have it. There. In here?
Right here, right there, right here.
Alright. I think we got it now. So he came back with all those seals, so I decided to jump on changing the oil cooler. And that's what was in there. They're pretty, anyway, my finger's doing all the flexing, and they're supposed to look like that. Well, that's what's supposed to be in there. And what it does is you bolt the oil cooler down, it kind of crushes itself more to that profile, but it's supposed to, have tension to take up the distance. So I didn't show that going all back together, but that is on there. So he's washing a bunch of parts, and I went looking at what I have for a clutch. I do not have the correct clutch for it, so it's going back in with what it had. And he just washed a bunch of stuff up, so I'm just going to start reassembling, put the motor back together, and then once the motor's together, then we're going to address that exhaust. Alright, thermostat. Nobody runs them. Seems like everybody removes them, but I like them. I'll leave them in. Here's the bottom of the fan shroud. Generator has a big fan on the back that sucks air in from the back of the tin, and it deposits it out of these two outlets. And it's controlled by a thermostat, and it has little doors that close it off. So, winter mode, it's like that. It's trying to warm the motor up. It's sealing off the airflow. That airflow is going across out of these holes instead, and generally in the wintertime you want to have heat. So now most of us getting diverted this direction through some tubes, through your heater boxes, and up to your heat. So in the wintertime, two things happen. The motor runs cold, and you never get heat because it never blocks off that airflow. So your airflow is like pathetic. There's nothing there. This is the thermostat itself. It hangs down below the motor, and the air that comes out of here circulates around the tins in the motor and blow across this. The hotter that area is coming out, the more this coil expands, and the colder it is, the less the more it's retreated. So you can see that in that position, fully open, which would be pushing that rod as far as you can. The heat's wide open, and when it's cold, it just pulls it back like that. That's the deal. That's why everybody complains they don't have any heat. You don't have any heat because you took the stupid thermostat out, and the fins are wide open, and all the air is going in a different direction. Yeah, my rant. I was wrong. These heater boxes weren't screwed up. I thought the top was just missing. The bottom's got a self-tapping one and a two. That's the only thing holding the whole heater box on. That guy right there. That little guy.
Thank you, Craigslist.
So let me go see if we can get that out of there and what's happening underneath. Well, they generally don't have 6 holes to bolt them up with. Usually there's only 2.
Just 2.
The 2 in the middle. So you got a self-tapper there, self-tapper there. And that actually might be a hole. So we're gonna go and clean that puppy up and see if we can. Looks like somebody already tried to drill it, and they drilled it off center, I think. Yes, I agree. Because my car feels the same way. Oh well, we're gonna see what we can do to try to get something there. Okay, show and tell. Okay. Can you see inside that one? What's that look like? Looks like a broken tap. And that one right there doesn't look much better. That one looks like it probably broke the drill bit off halfway in it, and they stopped on that one. So, dud and dud. I am going to try to shove a drill bit up in this one. I'm going to grind the face flat and center tap it and see if I can get it to go. And if that's the case, but if I hit drill bit, it's done. And in that case, it's pretty screwed.
Self-tap.
Yeah, so I'll probably see if I can get that guy back out of there. I may tap that for an actual thread, and we'll just put some smaller studs in it and do the best with what we got. We did talk about getting new single port cylinder heads for this because it's an old motor. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We were just trying to repair the oil leaks, and I guess we got a shopping list. So let me stick a drill in that, see what happens. pretty much know what's going to happen.
You're the greatest, Darren.
And then get the self-tappers ready to go. So I ended up just getting those 2 self-tappers back in there, one on the top, one on the bottom. And we're going to let it fly like that. It should hold for a while. Again, this wasn't a rebuild. We're just trying to make whatever improvements we can in a 4-hour period of time, essentially. Putting the plug wires back on. Everybody goes to fire and water, and they, et cetera, and here's how I do it. On the rotor, there's a mark generally on the rotor. This would be number 1. It generally either points here or here. And firing order 1, 2, 3, 4. It's backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. And cylinders 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't skip from side to side. So you can just put the wires right on that way, right around. 1, 1, number 2, number 2. You go to the other side. It's going to be number 3. You follow it down, it goes to number 3 cylinder. Number 4 goes to number 4 cylinder. That's how I do it. I never seem to have a problem with it. Once in a while, you could be 1 digit off, depending on what it has for a distributor. But as long as you look at it and look at the mark, you generally should be able to tell that. We're going to put the carb back on it, and what else are we doing? Tins are on. We got pretty much put the clutch back together. I think we're good. Yeah, that thing. So we should be able to get this thing back in the back in there. I don't know if you want to change the oil at your house, drop the screener and all that kind of deal. The oil's fairly clean. I would just at some point would get that strainer. It's probably got a lot of crap in it.
Yeah.
So, but he's been dumping oil in it like crazy. So it literally has clean oil in it. All right, let's get something done. I'll bring you back. I was holding the fan belt on, and I figured I'd stop and grab the camera again. I know a lot of guys, anybody who knows VWs knows this stuff, but there's a lot of guys that watch my stuff that just are not familiar with the cars. So I'll talk about stuff that maybe I'm just not aware of. So VW doesn't use for their belts something that has the capacity to move, to tighten in and loosen itself. And this one has to be fairly stout because it's running the fan on the back side of it, the only belt that's on it. So bottom pulley's fixed, it's right on the crank. The top one sits on a stand right here. The generator or alternator stand holds that sucker. Pretty stout, it's fairly wide, and it's got a big strap across the back of it. And then, so that doesn't move. But in the front of it, what they do is they have shims. See the shims that are down in there? Those guys determine how far the 2 halves kind of go together on the front pulley to get the right tension on it. And what you do is you shift the shims from the outside. You see there's a bunch more right here, and then a cup and a nut, all that kind of stuff retains everything. So you got to kind of trial fit it back and forth until you get the right dimension. And you want like a 1/2 inch of play on the belt. You want to be able to flex it about a 1/2 inch. I'll show you after I put it together. It's a decent spot for it. And you kind of want to, when you're putting it together, you want to let the whole thing spin as you tighten it down. You don't want to lock it in place because the belt has to be able to like to climb out of the groove. So you kind of want to let it spin with it as you're tightening it, and you'll see it'll kind of like draw itself in. So you can see how it kind of drew itself right up into the groove. It feels pretty good. So now I can crank it down. Now it's almost home. So I'm going to wedge a screwdriver in the top right here. Sure. There's actually 2 studs on the generator that come through. If you can get the screwdriver to come around, it'll cluck. It'll clunk right into that and lock it up so the screwdriver doesn't turn anymore. Hold that for a second. Shouldn't. Let it kind of go. I feel how it hit. Now it's hitting right on the screw, so now you can crank right on it. You won't hurt anything. You can get back off and it's tight. That's pretty good. Maybe take 1 shim out of that. It's right on the border. Yeah, I'm gonna take another shim out of that, I think. If you go too tight, it's gonna burn out the bearings on the generator. They're gonna fail. They're not gonna be able to handle the load. because you could really crank down on this really tight, so it can really kind of throw it for loops. You just want to pay attention. If anything, you'd rather a little bit too loose and a little bit too tight. Might slip, but won't burn everything up. Alright, I'm going to push him out and set it up. Alright, I know this thing about belt is getting really wordy, but that's another shim out of it. If anything, I would say that's just a hair too tight. Let's say I wouldn't want it any tighter than that. I feel that's about it. We've got a little bit of a diving board, but it still moves. Anyway, onto putting the rest of it together. Alright, I'll spare you the whole valve adjusting situation, but I pull the cap off. You can see how the rotor faces the dot on the distributor. It's facing at number 1. You follow that wire back, it's number 1 cylinder. So you follow the wire where it says number 1, and both these valves should be free. I set them for 6,000s, so you got about light drag on it. Actually, that one doesn't feel too bad. And that one's a hair loose. I'm gonna go tighten it. But anyway, so do that for turn the motor till you're at number 2. Do the same thing. Number 3, the same thing. Number 4, the same thing. Your valve covers on, and you're done. It's that time. You can steer that. I'll lower it down. Okay. We're probably going to go to the tires are about 6-8 inches off the ground. You're basically just going to have to back up. Back all up. There you go. Yell when you're crushing.
I'll put my finger in there.
Yeah, probably just a little bit more. Right about there. We should be able to catch it. Let me go another inch. Yeah. That should be enough to jack it up into place and still have room to get up underneath there. But we'll omit that part because that's where all the swearing and everything happens, and we got to keep it. It's PG. Is it? Gotta pop it around a little bit. I'm just going in there and whack it with my palm a little bit, kind of move it around. One of those kind of. That's about a movement you want to see on the belt. If you're not seeing that, it's way too tight. That's what I mean by when it's running, it gets tighter because it tries to make a circle. So it pulls down even harder on the alternator. Sounds good. Quiet. That exhaust really wasn't leaking before though, was it? No.
I tightened it one time.
Party's over. Good.
It's fine. It's just fine.
We're gonna go get crusty. That's the end of this deal.
Thanks for your help, YouTube.
It's back to ready to be a driver for a few days, a few months. And Krusty should be hiding
behind door number 1.
Look, we got a little rotor on the mulch pile now. Right there. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.